Good evening and welcome to the marketing management presentation from Team Monroe of the Mavericks industry. This presentation is brought to you by me, Samuel Daphne, Sophia McIntyre,
Hello.
and Brian Weiss.
Hi.
Next. We will be giving a review of the summer 2015 semester in this course, including our firm's overall MarkStrat performance, the lessons we learned along the way as simulated marketing professionals, and the key concepts of marketing and how they applied to this simulation. First, we will look at the overall firm performance within the Mavericks industry. In this graph, we can see the share price index of Team Monroe, or M, shown here in purple. As you can see, our firm had some rough going early on. In periods 1 through 3, we were in the 5th position out of the 6 firms. In period 4, we were in a virtual tie for the 3rd position and were poised for future successes. We will examine the intricacies of this on the following slide. Unfortunately, by that time in the simulation, we were residing in a very clear second tier of firms, as the 2 most successful companies squeezed us out and dominated the market. In the end, we finished in a disappointing 5th position in terms of SPI. We would like to note, however, that in terms of cumulative net contribution, meaning the total earnings before taxes throughout the simulation, our firm finished in a much more respectable 3rd position. In the first graph here on the top left corner, we will see the overall picture of the revenues generated by our brands throughout the entirety of the simulation. Early on, we had a lot of success with our Most brand, shown here in purple, which was targeted toward the Savers segment. As this was a brand that was inherited in period 0, it did not really closely match the ideal values of the customers. This led to its eventual downfall as other firms created new brands to provide the customers a product that more closely met their expectations. We launched the More brand in period 2, shown here in yellow, to attract customers from the professional segment, and we had a lot of success. This was a very high margin product which generated the majority of the firm's revenue. Towards the end, we identified a gap in the market in which we could launch a brand targeting the Explorers segment. MoX, shown in blue, had some success in gaining revenue for the firm. In the second graph, shown in the top right corner, we have the top 5 brands by revenue in the whole industry. In periods 3 and 4, the More brand was the highest earning brand. This is due to the combination of the high margins of the product and the segment dominance that we experienced over this time period. In the third graph, shown in the lower left corner, we see the history of the professional segment across all 6 periods. This is in terms of percentage of units sold within that segment. The 3 initial brands in the segment did not closely match the expectations of the customers, and we capitalized on that opportunity. After launching More, which is shown in purple in this graph, in period 2, we quickly grew awareness for our brand, finely tuned the perceptions of the product, and controlled the entire segment by period 4. We finished as the #1 brand in the professional segment. In the fourth and final graph of this slide, shown in the lower right-hand corner, we see the history of the Savers segment through to period 5. Our Most brand was very successful early on, and at one point owned more than 50% of the units sold in the segment. Unfortunately, as new brands were launched, our product could not keep up, and our market share dropped significantly. By the time the simulation came to conclusion, we were hardly funding this product, and were just selling off excess inventory.
I'll take this slide, Sam. This is Brian Weiss. Thank you. So the keys to success for Team Monroe was, besides great teamwork, was we recognized that early on we were especially in the practice period, we took a risk and understood what it means to launch a new product, and so we did that during the exercise here in the the actual simulation that we were graded on, and we did launch a product called More. We were very successful with that product, and basically. That was a really key to our success. We launched it for the professional segment, and we dominated that segment. So we dialed in the research and development within the simulation to understand which features were most important to that segment, and we kind of held true to that, and we really gained a lot of market share thanks to the R&D that we did, dialing in all the features that we wanted for this product. So in addition to that, when you look at how you're going to launch a new product, besides what the customer wants, you're going to have to look at cost. And there was an option in the simulation to launch at the lowest production price, which we chose, and so that lowered our cost of goods sold and had high gross margins for us. In addition, some of the things that we were additionally successful at was, we were able to, pinpoint the price that we want for this product, and yet when you looked at the market and polled them, it seemed that the perception of the price was sometimes not exactly, in line with what they think it should be. That doesn't say to make a price change. We actually wound up changing the perceptual values through perception, through strategic advertising. So we were able to kind of go ahead and spend money and alter the customer's perceptions of our brand, and that was in our favor without having to reduce our price point and still keep with these high gross margins. The other keys to success we had was we were able to look at the simulation as a whole, the market as a whole, and understand where to launch our products. We did that with More, and we did that with MoX. So we kind of saw who's been dominating which shares and what our competitors were doing, and we were able to take advantage of what people weren't doing. And lastly, we also were able to recognize that we had a product that we weren't willing to maintain. And so then, as we identified that it wasn't going to make the money that we needed it to make to increase our SPI, we cut it loose and discontinued that brand, and that helped us along the way as well. Next slide, please. Yeah, so what we would have done differently, certainly we would have liked to have launched the R&D projects earlier. I think we're a little hesitant because it was a new simulation to us, and you didn't want to really rock the boat too quickly, but I think in retrospect, you definitely want to be able to produce a product that your customers want. And the earlier you could do that, the more they'll sign on for it, and you'll start generating revenue for your company. So I think, in retrospect, I would have liked to have gone and launched different products to the ideal values of the segments. In addition, we could have, when we took out a loan, we could have used that loan a little more wisely in terms of recognizing that we were spending money on a product that wasn't in such high demand from the market, and that was really something that once we took out the loan, we didn't spend it on the product that really would have valued the most out of taking out the money for that loan. Lastly, we had some excess inventory on some of our products, and that wasn't so bad during the simulation. I think really period 6 we tried to dial in that knowing the simulation was going to end, we didn't want to be holding on to any excess inventory as holding costs. But I think what also really hurt us, I think there was about 2 periods where we did not produce, so we kind of undervalued, we shortchanged ourselves with our expectations. We really did have a winner with More, but we played it somewhat conservative, and we sold out inventory during the period, and we just really left money on the table. So I think from a strategy perspective, if you really have a growing product, the takeaway is to overproduce in a period where if you're not really going to change the product itself, you could certainly sell that in the next period. But you can go for bust and hopefully sell out with that product. So some of the key marketing concepts that we're going to go through now. We could start with segmentation and targeting, and this is really interesting because you really the market research that was provided in the simulation was invaluable in identifying who your customers are in the simulation, and obviously in the real world that defines who you're going after and what type of product you're going to produce. And so we noticed with the segmentation targeting, can we look at these certain types of customers and understand what their needs are? And really, to this, it's the market research that was able to provide us with that. So, understanding what customers want, and then, across the board, and then targeting those specific customers within a segment is really key to one of the concepts that we took away from the simulation. And we did that with our 3 brands, as you can see on the slide, for the 3 different segments that we targeted. I will say there's probably an opportunity to target multiple segments. We didn't really see that much in the simulation. I can understand that happening in the real world for sure. And we did see minimal that where we had cross or a different number of units sold, or certainly a lot less than the segment what we were going after. But primarily what you will see is that a target segment will really graft towards a specific product. And that's kind of what we saw in the simulation, that we didn't really see any products dominate multiple segments. So I think Sophia is taking the next slide.
Product, and it's something that can be often examples would be physical goods. On the market of a product really focuses on understanding of people more thoroughly.
Hold on.
Yeah. Did you mute her?
No, I could bear. Sophia, you were cutting in and out.
Gosh. Okay.
All right. Can we stop that?
Yeah. You want me to? Let me just stop it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't